All right, everybody, welcome to Open Up. I'm Andy,
I'm Jay.
and this is Open Up. Open up your mind
Open up your conversation.
and open up your world. We're here tonight to open up another topic. We talked last week about what if, and this week we're going to talk about marriage. So we just need to talk about family relationships. It's been put on our hearts about marriage. Jay come up with this topic, so we're going through that.
Yeah, because to us, marriage is the key to off our other conversation we had a couple of weeks ago. So if without the marriage covenant, there's no way that we can accomplish what we were trying to accomplish with the open up part of us coming together as one. So if you have the husband and the wife plays the same role as the people will play with each other. So remember last week when I said the people hold the power.
Right.
It's the same way with the marriage. The marriage holds the power to your kids, your family, and the future. So as we know, the marriage is not the same because, like I say, for a while I've been to one marriage wedding. It probably once last week in the last 5 years. So to me, that's a big red flag because.
What do you mean? You mean right there? You hadn't been to many weddings?
No.
Yeah.
I haven't been to many weddings, and to me, that's just saying people don't really acknowledge marriage like that. People don't pay attention to how serious the marriage covenant is for us to grow and to be the one that we need to be. Because the marriage covenant is what keep us close to God. Nowhere in the Bible, in no other book or nothing where marriage is compared the most
Right.
to Jesus and God
That's right.
as being one.
That's right.
The marriage couple is designed the same way. If you following God, the marriage covenant is the same way as Jesus Christ and God being one.
And Jesus is to the church like a husband is to a wife.
Yes.
And that's the way we're supposed to respect our wives. We're supposed to be with our wives and treat them as Jesus treats the church. He loves them all. We need to love our wives unconditionally and support them, and they need to be there for us. And that's you got to find that pair, that couple that God wants you to be with, that person that God wants you to be with, and that's not an easy task. But it ain't easy when you find that right one.
No,
it ain't
no.
always easy.
But that's why if you read the word, it explains to say the two shall become one.
Right.
So when you hear that the two shall, what do you really think that means? It doesn't mean that immediately you won. You
Right.
got two people that's
Ooh,
trying
yeah.
to become one.
Puts a time frame on it, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always hear people saying they having divorce parties and stuff like that. So
Oh, I don't think I've ever heard of a divorce party.
yes, I've heard them. So how did that even come about? How do you go from having this glamorous wedding and everybody celebrating with you, and then when you go through a rough time, now everybody is, oh, you shouldn't be with that person. So what you saying in front of God, this covenant that you taking as far as saying through better for worse, so when the worst come, you ready to go.
So you cut it off, and I think it's kind of maybe it boils down to the instant gratification world that we live in. Everybody wants it now, okay? So they're not courting, used to that you would court a woman for a while, you would date her for a while before you ever, really did that. So now they just want to get the instant togetherness. They want to be together right quick, and then maybe we'll get married in a few years. And I think people have gotten it backwards now. What do you think?
I just think it's not taking it serious. I think it's more of a people doing it to show other people. People get married for so many different reasons. People get married because they feel like, oh, I'm getting older. I don't want to be by myself. Or my friend's getting married, so I need to get me a husband, or I need to get me a wife. So it comes down to what the words that you are speaking in front of God, in front of all these people. When the time comes and you go through the difficult times, why is it so easy to say, let's go? You do your thing and I'm gonna do mine. How do we get from that point? Because I just think about, like I go back to, I always tell you with my grandparents. They was married over 60 years. So, and I know they went through hard times, but it was never an option of we gonna divorce.
Right.
So that's why I say I think through the generations, they done made it so easy, and it's a popular thing to say we gonna get a divorce. And everybody who was, like I say, who was at the wedding with you,
Heard the promise.
yes, heard the promise, but the promise don't even matter no more.
Right.
But people got to realize that God still take that promise very serious.
I've been hearing for years that why do I want to get married? It's just a piece of paper. And it's not true. It's not just a piece of paper. It's a solemn vow that you take not only to your spouse, but also to God and in front of God. And that's easy for people to break, I guess, these days, huh?
Yeah, because in the world, we go with the fad, what people used to doing. Like I say, the hardest thing is when people see you and with your spouse and they think, oh, you don't never go through nothing. But when you go through something, you got to take that as, hey, God got me here for a reason. So whatever it is, we got to push through it. But people done took God out the equation. So like I say, the marriage covenant, the household, the family, the man being the head of the house,
Right.
all that plays part to what we having a conversation about is opening up, because it goes back to what we talked about on our last one. Only way we gonna be able to come together, the family unit has to be strong as well.
Right.
If me and my wife and the kids don't have the same, if I'm not planting that seed into them of how marriage is, there's no way I can plant it into them of me and you are the same.
And if you can't open up in your own home, how are you going to open up to the world? How are you going to open up to everybody in the world if you can't open up to your spouse, to your kids, to your family, your extended family, even your brothers and sisters? And pardon me. But so it kind of limits you. You got to start here. You got to start at your house. You start at your kitchen table. My wife used to know, or the kids used to know when my wife would call and say, hey, y'all meet us, we're going to have a table meeting. There was something going on. We all sit at the table and talked out whatever was happening in the household. And having a bunch of kids like we did, it was always a pretty good sized meeting.
So how do you think your kids see marriage? How do you think they view it as to say, no matter what, I know my mom and dad is not going to separate. They're not going to even speak of divorce. How do you really know that your kids are taking heed to what you're talking about?
They go through it. I mean, they talk to me, and that's a good thing. They talk to me. They talk to my wife, and they tell us about their problems, and they so far they're sticking to it. So far, I hadn't seen that culture in all my kids. Now we got a bunch of kids, so they're not all that way, but most of them been together since they got married. But they're doing good. They're doing good. My kids are. I feel like even through, because this, my marriage now was not my first marriage. Okay, I've been married multiple times, and this is my last. She'll be glad to tell you, but
Yeah, I think they all will be. Both of them will say that.
yeah, probably so. But they do see Annie and I together, and they long to be like that. Okay, and that's the thing. You have to set an example for your kids. You really do. I didn't always set that good example, but I try to in this marriage, absolutely. And it's been easier because I truly believe that God has me with the right one right now. And I don't know. I'm sorry.
So when you hear people say, well, God allows me to divorce the person for this reason, that reason, and most time they say it because for infidelity or something like that, right? So I always ask people, show me where God said that.
Yeah.
Show me where He said that you can divorce your spouse because they cheat on you or anything like that. And people always go to the scripture where Moses allowed the people to get a divorce. And when Jesus said, but from the beginning that was not so, what do you think that really means? What do you think that, because anytime people ask Jesus a question in the Bible, He always said from the beginning. So when I always ask this question, and everybody gets blank or they think, what is he really saying? When
That-
he said from the beginning, this
Wasn't
was not,
God's plan. Wasn't God's plan to leave. The Bible also says that a man will leave his parents and be joined together with one woman.
Yes.
And it says that very plainly. So it wasn't God's plan for us to leave our spouse for infidelity or you hear people say, well, we just grew apart.
Yeah.
Well, why'd you grow apart?
No, the biggest one,
Yeah.
I'm not happy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
God never promised nobody you was gonna be happy. he never said that. That was never a scripture. That was never given to Moses or none of the prophets to say you was gonna be happy.
Right.
He specifically said he was gonna give you peace in every situation. So when I hear people say I'm not happy, happy is a temporary feeling.
That's right.
When I ride my motorcycle,
Yeah.
man, I'm happy at the time. Do you think I can ride my motorcycle every day? All day?
No.
There's no way that can happen. So you're not going to have happy moments all the time.
Right.
But at that time when you don't have them, that's not the ticket to say, oh man, I can't do this no more. I'm not happy. That happy is going to end. So
Motorcycle's still there. You just got to go back to the happiness.
you just got, but you control the happiness.
That's right.
The other person should never control your happiness. Now you happy to be with them, but that person should never be the all-in factor. Say, well, I'm not happy because of what that person is doing.
I think it's a priority thing. If you put God first, and that'll keep you happy. Okay, that'll keep you happy. Then everything else can fall in underneath that.
But even with God, you're not going to always be
Oh,
happy
no,
because
no.
guess what? When you have
But it's not God's fault.
It's not.
You
But
know.
you like I said, it goes back to like I said, your feelings get involved, and you think if I'm not happy or I'm sad, I get to make this choice to say that I don't need to be here no more. But God never gave us that option.
Right.
Just I think about when He said from the beginning. Go back to that. When He said from the beginning, He really meant when Adam and Eve was brought to the world.
Right.
When they sinned against God. God at that time had two people on earth when they sinned against Him. He could have easily said, "You go your way, and he go this way." And I'm gonna give you a new spouse. And he could have.
Yeah,
At that time, he could have said
yeah.
that, and he chose not to. His specific instructions was that the wife would have her desire for the husband.
Right.
And at that time, Adam didn't have to work. At that time, Adam's punishment was, now you got to go out
That's
here and
right.
work
That's right.
and provide
Work
for
the
this
soil.
woman who you allowed to tell you something that you knew wasn't right. So when I hear people, I always tell people, that's what Jesus meant when He said, what did it say from the beginning? And that's the soul of it. We had two people that changed the course of human nature. Of humankind. So why didn't God just wipe them two out and start over?
Would it made a difference?
No,
I don't think
because
so.
they would have sinned again.
That's right. That's right.
The next people would have sinned again.
Yeah.
So that's just, like I say, I stand on my marriage, but my marriage to my wife, I'm married to God first.
Right.
So no matter what she do or what it goes on, she gonna have to answer for that. But my standing has to always be what God want me to do.
So how does that help us? How does all this help us with our goal for this podcast to bring people together worldwide?
So
how's
the
that?
family unit.
Yeah.
You have to have that foundation, that seed that's planted in your spouse. No matter what goes on, we have to stay together. Not for our sake, but for the next generation and the next generation, the next
And it
generation.
goes just back to what we talked about last week, where we have to keep the kids, we have to raise our kids in a certain way, okay? We have to raise our kids to open up, to know that just because of somebody's skin color doesn't mean you can't get to know this person, okay? And understand that person and ask for their outlook on life. So
But that goes back to the family unit.
it's absolutely does.
Everything still goes back to you teaching your kids the right way. No matter what no matter what somebody's skin color is, you still have an opportunity to see their side of something.
Right.
And just because you don't agree with them, that doesn't mean nothing. You're not going to agree with everybody. So if you teaching your kids, no matter what the skin color is, no matter how many kids or whatever they have, this is what God intended as far as the family. And if the family has a rooted foundation, we wouldn't have these discussions about race.
Okay, so we know that there's a lot of single parents out there. Okay, you and I are pretty blessed. We've both got good wives, happy. We got good marriages. We're both pretty blessed in that deal. There's a lot of people out there that are not, that have got kids, they're struggling, they're raising kids on their own. So how do they do it? Okay, so it's the same thing. Okay, just because you're a single parent doesn't mean you can't raise your kids with that same open up outlook where they reach out and try to talk to people and you try to talk to your kids. You still have to be that good parent to where they grow up with the right morals. You have to instill in them, hey, something, for whatever reason, I'm not with your dad or your mom, so that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be trying. You need to understand that marriage isn't easy. It's not you're not always going to be happy.
No.
You're going to be struggling. It's just like everyday life. We all struggle. Sin's in the world. We're going to struggle because of it. But you just have to work it. You have to work at it. And I think we need to raise our kids up so that they know, even if your marriage fails, you can still be that good person. You can still go out and reach out and help. Not have hate in your heart.
Yeah, but most of the time, what deters the kids from that, because it's either one parent feeding negativity.
Ooh.
Everything goes back to remember what I told you, the seeds, the love and the hate. It happens with the family unit.
That's right. Oh,
so
man.
When the two parents separate, 9 times out of 10, if the kid grows up with any kind of hatred or anything like that, or saying, I'm not getting married, my parents didn't make it, it's because one of those parents are feeding the kid.
Planted that seed.
Planted
that seed of hate in there.
So that seed, we all know that once you plant a seed, it has to grow. It's not going to wither and disappear. So one of those parents has fed those kids that, but you have to be the parent that continues to feed love. Don't talk down about the other parent. Don't
even if they deserve it.
Yeah, but even if they deserve it, you still have to be the one saying, let the kids see that themselves.
That's right.
Because eventually, I promise you, the kid will see what is really going on.
Yes.
They don't need your help to fuel the fire. They don't need that.
Planting seeds in kids is fertile ground. It's gonna grow.
So what do the enemy feeds off of the kids?
Right.
So he know 9 times out of 10, me and you done got past where we gonna listen to him.
Right.
So he like, if I can get the kids, I can get a whole nother generation.
That's right.
Who don't believe in marriage, who not trying to follow God, who think, oh, white people this or black people this. Yeah. So if we continue to feed our kids positive and love, he can't get them.
That's right.
But at the same time, your kids, you have to have them conversations with them. You have to sit down and be like, hey, this is the real. It's no negativity. It's all in love. This just what happens. This is life. And when you get older, you will see that marriages don't never stop working. From the time you say I do, that's when the enemy definitely coming. You can date. Me and my wife dated for a good little while. And it wasn't until we said I do where the enemy, we just felt it like this. I mean, it's like he was waiting. Okay, so now they want to get in front of God and say, make this covenant. I'm going to see.
He made it tough on you.
Yeah, so, and you got to watch what you speak in front of people. If you say, oh, I married this person because of this, that's what the enemy going to attack first.
Right.
If you married him for money, anything like that, he going to attack the finance. He know what you like, and he know what gets you uncomfortable. So once it get to that point and you just get so frustrated, what you gonna do?
If he can take it away, he can make you unhappy.
And guess what you gonna do?
Yeah.
You're gonna fall down and you're gonna say, man, I can't do this no more.
Yeah.
And that's how we have in the family unit broke down. Like I say, growing up, I went to so many marriages with my grandparents, with my mama, and I'm like, now that I'm older, I don't go to marriages. I very seldom hear people getting married.
Yeah.
I mean, and it goes like you said earlier that people look at it, oh, it's just a piece of paper. Oh, my parents went through that, so I'm not supposed to be fighting with somebody with child support and this type of stuff. Because kids pick up on that,
Yeah.
so they don't want to deal with it. So we got to find a way to get back to our kids so they understand that the marriage is what God intended. He created the woman for the man, so therefore we can have a happy union.
Right.
But that don't mean it's gonna be happy all the time.
No, it's definitely not. Definitely not. But it can be happy a lot. Okay, once you get past and the devil realizes, well, I'm gonna have a really hard time breaking them two up. They're pretty darn happy, So
he'll leave you alone for a minute, but he coming back.
He's gonna come back every once in a while. He's gonna rear his ugly head, as the saying goes.
He has to come back to make sure that your faith is where you say it is.
Right.
So once you start standing on the word and you start speaking back, he don't like it, but that's not gonna stop him. Just imagine how many times he came to Jesus. So if he tried to tempt the Son of God, what you think he gonna do to us?
Be more successful.
Yeah, because he know if he can break the family unit up, he has us.
That's his spot. So that being said, we got to have faith in God, and we got to have faith in our wife, and we got to have faith in our family, and we got to raise them to where that they have faith in us. We have to be, like you said, the husband rules the family, and I'm not saying rules with a steady hand, with a stiff arm. You got to do this, but with love. You rule with love and sacrificial love. So we have to do that as an example. And I think if we do that as an example, and you all do that as an example, your kids are going to see it. Like Jay said, it plants a seed. It plants a good seed that grows in fertile ground, because our kids are fertile grounds, man. When you teach them something, they remember. They remember. And it grows and gets bigger and bigger, and they'll see it, and they'll look for that relationship later on in their lives. And if they do that, our world has to get better than where we're at right now, okay? Because there's so many people out there that are just living in the moment and not worrying about long-term commitments, and our world has to get better.
Just imagine how many marriages could have been saved if they just would have trusted in God and said, I know this not what I want it to be right now, but this way you got me and this who you gave me, I'm going to fight to the end. And fighting is not you going out there and telling your friends and then get on your knees and pray. No matter what that person is doing, whether they on drugs or whatever, God can turn all that around. But my personal thought of, we don't give God that option because we think about self. Anytime you hear somebody say, I'm not happy, what do you hear? And God don't see I no more. He just think about when he called Adam and Eve. Who did he call? He said Adam.
Yeah.
Because Adam's job was to teach Eve
Right.
what God had showed him. And when he didn't, he had to get punished. But that wasn't the punishment. I'm gonna separate you from your wife. Now your wife's desire just gonna be for you, and you got to work for all this free stuff I was giving you.
and Eve, a lot of I really never thought about it like this until just now. But Adam wasn't with Eve when she was tempted at first. He wasn't with her. He was absent. He was absent from her presence. He wasn't there to support her. Okay, he wasn't there, and she had a moment of weakness, and then she drew him into it, or she was there, and he's like, okay, well, I can try it too,
But this is just my take on reading the scriptures and getting clarity by the Spirit. I feel like Adam didn't teach her like he should have,
right?
Because she would have recognized the enemy when he came. Just like your spouse, you gotta you teach them that, hey, these guys may come at you or say certain things to you. They only want one thing. it's the same. It's the same thing. So if you're not having those conversations with your spouse,
Yeah.
she gonna get tempted the same way.
Right,
It's
right.
not. I think we get it confused because a lot of people think, oh, that happened back then. Man,
It
God-
happens right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the
Oh, yeah.
same. It's just the enemy used the same tactics. He just have a different way of doing it now. You know what I'm saying? With this social media, with the phones, and it's easy to do that. You just have to instill that in your spouse. Hey, this how God intended this to be. This covenant that we got shouldn't be broken, and there's nobody on earth here that should break it.
Right, right.
And like you say, if your kids see that, your trust me, your kids gonna see you having conversations. They gonna see you having altercations where y'all disagree.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they still should see, man, mama and daddy ain't going nowhere.
Right.
They mad right now.
Yeah.
But daddy ain't fit to leave, mama not fit to leave.
Right.
So, and
Or,
like I
or
say,
how are y'all so happy today when y'all so mad at each other yesterday?
but that's what they have to see, because
right.
if they see you mad and you leave and you gone for a couple of days,
Yeah.
they think, oh well, shoot, this ain't really what mom and daddy say it is. So you just got to be mindful what your kids see and how you speak in front of them. But the main thing for me is, like I say, this topic came to my heart on a dream because it all ties into
He's
what we
got
talked
mad
about.
dreams, by the way.
It all ties into what we talked about with the racial thing and
Right.
stuff like that. It goes back to the family has to instill that into the unit.
It's the happiness thing, I think, is the key. If we can be more happy at home and work through the things there, it'll teach us as people to be able to work through our differences with people in the outer world outside of our homes. Okay, so we have to use our family unit and grow it, and then expand that out into the world, and be happier knowing other people that with different. You know, I'm not going to marry Jay, but me and him are good friends, and we're going to get along, and we may argue or something every once in a while, but we're going to work through it. And that's why we have to be with everybody. We have to be able to go through and work out our differences, okay, as people, as one human race, and not by colors, but not by anything that's just the way we look, okay? It's about how God raised us and put us up. God doesn't see colors, okay? Mm-hmm. He absolutely doesn't see colors. And I just think that if we expand our family unit and it just grows and grows and grows, that the world can truly become what God had intended for it to become. And it will, okay? God's got a plan, and we can't change that. It's going to happen.
Yeah, you just got to let your kids have that conversation too.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You go to them every now and then and be like, so what you think about when you get ready to get married? What you think marriage is about? And like I say, my kids done told me, I'm not getting married. But it's not because of what they
Your
don't
kids
see.
are young.
Yeah, but it's not because of what they see. It's because of what they hear on, you know what I'm saying, other people going through.
Right.
So they thinking, I don't want to deal with stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But you got to always be that example of, no matter what's going on, this is how God intended to be. He intended to have a husband and a wife. And with all the other issues that's going on in the world, you want them to have their foundation. And once they have that foundation, they can build off of the race thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So always ask your kids, sit down and have a conversation with them, and just because they the next generation that got to carry this to. Me and you ain't gonna be here that much longer, Andy. We ain't
You
got
got to, yeah, me less than you. We got to open up to our kids. We
Yes.
got to open up to our wives. We got to open up to our kids, and we got to open up to the world. And that's how to fix it. That's just how to fix it.
And this why we have this conversation.
That's
so the world can see what is intended to be, and you can have a conversation and disagree, but at the end of the day, you can come back to each other and say, "Hey, I see your point."
That's right.
But it goes back to our ground and root of this podcast is planting seeds, good seeds that will grow for love and support one another. And the main thing is a family foundation.
That's right.
That's what we mainly doing this for. We're not doing this to try to impress nobody. We want everybody to understand that God got us here for a reason, and our reason is to bring the world together as one.
Amen. We'd like to thank all of our listeners.
We would like to thank all our viewers.
So please hit the like button and subscribe.
You can find us on all major podcast platforms.
And if you have a topic you'd like to discuss, comment below or email us at openup.pc@gmail.com.